Hello, Bill Molyneux here, and you're about to watch an interview with Ron Perlman, who was in the movie Gettysburg. He was one of the Wranglers stuntmen, and he was in command of troops at many of the scenes of the movie. Well, everyone, Bill Molyneux here for Bill's Wargame World and History World, and we are with Ron. Ron, how do you pronounce your last name?
Prellaman. It's a German name. The group ancestors came over in the 1770s. The name was Brill, Brill, when we came over from Switzerland. How it got to Prellaman over the years, I don't know. I suspect my ancestors did not speak English until about the time of the Civil War. That's my only knowledge on that, but it went from Brill to Prellaman. An interesting thing about my ancestors is our original 1770 barn is still standing at Ferrum College in Franklin County, Virginia, as part of a Blue Ridge Village exhibition that is cared for by the college.
Well, and your claim to fame and why we have you here today is the Battle of Gettysburg movie. Can you give us some insight? My last interview, we had some bad audio, so we're trying this again.
I was quite lucky at the that particular summer. I did not have a good permanent career type job. I thought it was my duty at least to give them 2 days a week for free. On my second day there was some difficulty with a horse scene, and a lady on the second unit realized that I was that crazy guy that would do most anything on horseback if the horse was as crazy as me. So I was picked out to help them with some horse scenes. Of course, at that time, we were filming Killer Angels, the miniseries, a 10-hour miniseries, which in editing, almost a year later, it was turned into a 4.5 hour movie when everyone realized that some of the scenes there were some of the better battle scenes for any Civil War movie ever. But there was quite a feat that a $12 million budget made for TV movie turned into a major motion picture that has still got quite a bit of following, and at one time broke the record for the cable TV viewing of all time. That was when it was first released, 1994, I believe, on TBS network without any commercials or with one intermission, if I remember. And it's still streamed quite a bit, and so is Gods and Generals, even though Gettysburg covering 3 days is much, much easier to cover in a movie than a 3 year period thing. It's almost impossible to cover a 20-year lifespan as they tried in the movie Broken Chain. Much easier to do a movie that concentrates on 3 days. The same reason Spielberg's Lincoln works is it only covers a short period of time when a specific item was being discussed and trying to pass in Congress. That's just the way the movie and storytelling business works.
So, Ron, what was it like to work with these famous movie stars?
Most of these famous movie stars were like you just meet someone at a bar over a beer. They were all very easy to work with. Maybe one or two at first are a little uppity, but after they found out that especially one of them, that you're getting millions of dollars worth of free service from all these reenactors that are showing up, he came along too. And by the end of the induction, they were all good. They were just normal people. We ate with them every night. Didn't even have formal introductions with most of them. We just met over dinner, and many of them were just as interested in our lives as we were interested in theirs. I think an interesting aspect of that is Tom Berenger at first seemed distant from all of us doing his scenes. When a movie starts, you do all the talk scenes first. Anything dangerous is pushed to the rear because a star can get hurt. An example, in Dances with Wolves, what Kevin Costner scenes riding among the buffalo, very last day of shooting. Anything that's blown up in a movie, of course, very last day of shooting. Tom Berenger finished his speaking part within the first 3 or 4 weeks of shooting in June of 1992, maybe 1st of July. When he had finished his speaking part, he made a point, first after taking off his beard. Sorry about the beards, $12 million budget. We didn't have the big Hollywood bucks for that. It was a made-for-TV miniseries, not a big Hollywood thing as it turned out to be. But Berenger made a point to go around all the groups and explain to everyone. He plainly said, I have never played a real person before. Longstreet was a real person. He's got detractors. He's got relatives. He has people that admire him greatly. He wanted to get it right. As soon as his talking part was over, he took off the beard, put on a Yankee uniform, drank with us at night at the Farnsworth House, and was a great guy to be around.
So, Ron, while we were watching Gettysburg, you were showing me scenes that you're in at the little Roundtop battle action. Can you tell me a little about that?
Little Roundtop, I don't know how much time it's on the screen, but it took us about a month to film. And I was quite fortunate that sometimes you're there at a place, you get lucky. I was quite fortunate. I got to command all the people that were just walk-ons. They planned on having 20 to 30, 50 walk-ons a day. On some weekends, we'd had as many as 100, 150. Most of these were firefighters from the academy down the road at Edinburgh. They gave 6 of us responsibility for taking care of the walk-ons. Now, there were days when we're filming both Yankee and Confederate, which is a little rare. Most days you film one side or the other. On those days, the six of us assigned to take care of these people, the other 5 guys wanted to be Yankees, so I had all the Confederates. You signed them in for insurance purposes, took them to the prop tent. Props were pretty good. That's why most of them look pretty good, because majority of them were firefighters. Sure, a lot of government workers from D.C. also, but got them equipped, gave them their fiberglass muskets, and I got to lead them in the assaults on Little Round Top. If you notice, the camera angle in the movie is always from the Confederate right, Union left. What I had the command of is the further from the camera. Right next to the camera are your full-time guys that are there all summer. The next group were reenactors that were there for a week or two, and the third group way over was my command, which were the walk-ons. And as I said, the walk-ons were great guys, since most of them were firefighters. Their height matched their weight. In other words, the biggest part of them were slender. A lot of them were veterans going through the manual of arms and marching them to the positions where it was easy. And it was a great thrill to do this. But a lot of it was a matter of luck, because most days you're doing all Yankee. Then there were 6 of us handling those. Or all Confederate, 6 of us handling. But on the days that you had 2 groups filming both Yankee and Confederate, I had them all. And at times that could be 80 to 100 people. And it was quite a thrill. And I couldn't believe that they were paying me for this. I also got all these guys to lunch early. They fed us super good lunch and dinner. Barbecued burgers lunch, prime rib, king cab at night. After all, the movie people knew they're getting these people for free, so let's treat them nice. Everybody was quite happy. The Fire Academy sent us new people almost every week, I think, to draw people into the fire school that particular year. That was one of the draws, that we'll let you skip class one day each week to go be in the movie. I have heard that was a thing. I wondered, like to check that out.
So, Ron, what else can you tell me about this movie?
Over the years, a lot of my acquaintances know that I was in the fight. And of course, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback or nitpick. One of the nitpicks of people that aren't familiar with horse and musket warfare is they would never start the big cannonade I'm talking about. one cannon, the next cannon, the next cannon, the next cannon, on down the line. Yes, that's the way it was really done historically. And the reason for that is to keep a complete bombardment on the enemy, not all the cannons fire at once. Then you've got 30 seconds or a minute and all the cannons fire again. No, that's not the way you want to do it. You want to go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 when the first gun up here gets loaded, and you start again. Since they were historically, I wish I knew exactly. I think the Confederates had 100 guns, maybe more. I should know that figure, but I do not. But probably when you went down the line, 20 guns or so, the first gun was loaded and you kept on down the line. But this was to keep a continuous bombardment. Something that has come up historically here later is one of the reasons for the ineffectiveness of the Confederate bombardment, or the fuses were from a factory in Georgia rather than the factory in Richmond that had had an explosion the Christmas season of that year, 62, 63, somewhere in that time period in the winter. And the fuses from Georgia burnt slower and longer, making a lot of the airburst explode too far back. Another misconception I hear a lot: oh, there was a van on a road. We saw the white van in the trees going by in the distance, and that is wrong. First off, there is no road back there. And second, what that was is during the Civil War, and this is different on some regiments, the Virginia state flag was white on white. If you'll look, next time you look at the movie, you'll notice, I think before and after, you'll see a guy on horseback with a flag, white on flag, going, standing still or riding up to the group of officers and so forth. That is the white that is going across the screen that you see and claim, since you're the expert or the Monday morning quarterback and you want to do a misnomer on the film. What it was the white on white Virginia state flag. And that was probably not true of all regiments. During the American Civil War, if my understanding is correct, that's when the Virginia state flag went to blue with the blue background rather than the white, because that was mistaken for a flag of surrender. I know that during the Battle of Newmarket, some people say that the VMI cadets were carrying a white on white Virginia state flag, and some of the Union troops couldn't understand what that was all about either.
Well, Ron, Gettysburg is quite haunted, they say. I have to ask, did you see any ghosts while you were filming?
Didn't see any ghosts, but may have heard ghosts. We camped on Pumping Station Road, huge camp, all the tents that anybody brought to the set, they set up there and left them. Even if you came 2 weeks and you were going to come back in a month, your tent stayed there. And everybody slept in those tents for a night or two before the movie people found you a place to stay. People were going and coming all the time, so it wasn't that hard for them to find us a place to stay. Boy Scout camps, Liberty Ski Resort, etc. But one night, I only stayed there 1 or 2 nights. And of course, a lot of consumption of adult beverages. And so there's a steady line of people going to change their water quite often. And I heard all these curse words and besides that, people screaming and hollering, "Shut up, shut up." Got out of my tent, and what sounded like a wagon drawn by horses coming through the camp slowly. Could not see anything. You hear the horses coughing, you could hear the wagon rolling, and it rolled right through the camp. And everybody over there was pretty spellbound, and we did have a time shutting people up from saying, "Oh my God," or other phrases. And I don't know anything else about that, but it definitely sounded like a wagon rolling slowly through the camp, and cannot explain it. The other thing that seemed to happen, they am told this happened to most all our security guards, because we could not keep security guards, and we needed them bad because most people left their equipment in the camp for background scenes, even if they were not going to be there for a month or whatever. Their tents there, some of their equipment. Our security guards would not last more than a few nights, because this is an example of the one security guard I talked to. He was at the front entrance at a little guard shack, and he looks up. There's 4 Confederate cavalrymen standing in front of him. And this is off of a hardtop 1-lane road, asphalt. They made no noise. One guy, and they did not look like 20th century people dressed up. They looked different, much skinnier, much raggeder. The horses were emancipated. And one of them told him, "Get out of here." He reached down for his walkie-talkie. He came back up. The Confederate cavalrymen were gone. He left, and don't know if there's any truth to the story or he imagined it, but things and tales like that were all over the place. But I only talked to him, and I only heard the way and go through the court. But there has to be something to that. There is just too many examples of weird things that are not explained in the Gettysburg area, especially in the 4th of July time period, which would be an anniversary of the battle there.
So, Ron, I know you went to the 30-year reunion. What was that like?
That was a very different and unique experience. A lot of the movie stars did make it back, and a big thing that they informed us was they cannot remember of a movie that has had such a thing as a 30-year reunion, especially a big thing like this with 50 plus speaking parts. And a goodly number of the actors came, especially a huge number of the actors are now character actors in soap operas and theater in New York City. Most of them came. They were all great to see each other. I was kind of impressed that Stephen Lang remembered me, walked right up to me, past 100 people, didn't remember my name, but when I said Killer, and that was my nickname there, because many days doing Confederate, especially mounted, I wore an Ori Main double-breasted red shirt, as Ori Main did in North and South. And then I said Farnsworth House. He remembered Killer. A great guy, still trim and good to talk to. And all the people were scattered all around town at different places. They were great to talk to. They all loved their experience there. Very different. They all had a great time. That's their business. That's their job. But they can't remember just having such a good, fun time at a movie production. Many of the reenactors there were doing impressions of Robin Williams pretty often, and it was working. They were funny. So most of us were laughing, pretty much all the time. And we enjoyed it. They enjoyed it. It was really interesting. Ron Maxwell, talking to him and listening to him when he talked to us before the showing of the movies, that informed me that he had the streaming numbers, and Gettysburg and Gods and Generals are streamed a heck of a lot still. In fact, they're in the top 100 things streamed, period, at some weeks, maybe when all the families are in, at certain places. But a good historical movie has legs. Gettysburg, to many people, and movies like Last of the Mohegans, etc. If a historical movie is done right, can you tell if it was made last summer or was it made 30 years ago? Also, at home streaming, you don't mind if a movie is 4 hours long. Where at the theater, it's another story.
Well, Ron, how long were you on the set there? It sounds like you spent quite a bit of time there.
I'm not sure. I think I first showed up on in June, maybe the first or second week of June. I remember we were into the shooting, or that some of the actors were finishing their spoken roles by July 4th. We kept shooting until the 1st of October. The last scenes, of course, were more scenes that where people could get hurt. Horseback scenes, pulling horses, leading horses. Most all of those got cut when they decided in editing many months later that this should be a movie and not a 10-hour miniseries. It's one of the longest American movies, 4.5 hours. I think a director's cut that adds a little bit of Buford and Reynolds walking the horses through town to clarify some things might even go a little longer. The decision on a long movie is if once a movie gets to the point that you cannot show it twice a night, it doesn't matter. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes over that, big deal. Let's go ahead and go 4.5, 5 hours. Movie theater people get antsy when you get to the point, which is, I think, about 2.5 hours, when they cannot show a movie more than twice a night. So sure, it is one of the longer movies, as is Gods and Generals. And Gods and Generals had a pretty good experience there too, but as a career job, gets in the way of life, was only there a few weekends. But even Gods and Generals has got pretty good numbers on streaming, and I think it's a much better movie on streaming, where maybe some of the more talkative parts you can put up with better than others. But a very enjoyable experience, and still I'm amazed that I got paid. Okay.
Well, Ron, thank you very much for this extra interview, and maybe we can do this again. Anything you'd like to say to close this out? As we've been watching Gettysburg,
I'm going to thank you for the work you do.
Well, Ron, thank you for this interview. Anything you want to say before I say goodbye to everyone in YouTube land?
I think we should all give Bill a clap of thanks, a hand of thanks, a gift basket for the time and effort he's put into his War Game World and his History Channel to try to keep history alive. As we know, our schools don't do it anymore, and America has one of the most glorious, bad and good histories of any country on the planet. And that is some of the reason that we are in the great shape we are today as a country. Maybe not this particular day, but is our history and our way of life and our attitude toward doing the right thing. And Bill is bringing that forward in his videos, and we should give him much thanks for that. Thank you, Bill.
Well, thank you, Ron. I'm all broken up by that. I'm going to say to everyone out there, stay safe, be kind, be courteous, and I think we're over $315 for the Gettysburg Foundation. And while we film this, just to let you know, we were watching Gettysburg on the side. So, anyhow, from Matthews, Virginia, I'm taking Ron and his wife out to dinner, and thank you again. Well, here we have Ron with his lovely wife, Norma. They came to Virginia to the Matthews home, and there am I with Ron, Bill Molyneux and Ron. And here's a few shots. Ron is actually in these pictures. He led the third group up Little Roundtop. That's him in the black hat there. And there he is again. So, that's the best I could do with my video power here at the house in Matthews. Stay safe, be kind, and be courteous, and thank you for watching.